Korean leader Kim Jong-un says that Pyongyang's latest missile tests are a warning over South Korea's joint military drills with the U.S. State media has confirmed reports that a new type of tactical guided missile has been launched from the western coast of the country. It says the projectiles precisely hit their targets on Tuesday. The latest launch marks a fourth time that North Korea has test fired, that is, short-range missiles in less than 2 weeks' time. The country has expressed its anger at Seoul and Washington for the ongoing war games next to its territory. Pyongyang says annual maneuvers are a rehearsal for an invasion of the North. Joining us now out of Bristol is Tony Gosling, investigative journalist. Hello, Tony. Pleasure to have you back on one of our bulletins here. Now, Tony, such an unbelievable, unprecedented window of opportunity between the White House and Kim Jong-un. What is happening today?
Well, I can tell you the idea of the drills, I mean, we did hear that this was going to stop, and of course that is what is needed. If Kim Jong-un is going to be persuaded not to develop and spend much money on weapons, then these drills have to stop. Now, look, let's just try a thought experiment. What if China was to surround Hawaii with its battleships and cruisers and to practice an invasion of Hawaii? I think the Americans might actually not like that, and they might consider it to be a provocation, because that's exactly what the drills are. These drills, the invasions of South Korea, of North Korea and America, is a massive provocation. The only people this kind of thing really benefits, of course, are the arms industry. The only trouble is the arms industry seem to be pulling the strings most of the time in the United States. Although Donald Trump is nominally in charge, the military-industrial complex is really the permanent government in the United States. They never get elected, but their lobby is permanent, and they are constantly putting pressure on the press and on the presidents in order to expand military expansionism around the world and regime change. And of course, Kim Jong-un, the reason that he has decided to spend much time and effort on weapons is because he doesn't want regime change. The United States clearly have been very belligerent towards North Korea over the years, and he's decided he's going to not be one of these countries to be toppled by the US.
Right, Tony, but I'm sure you remember the fire and fury, the threats of obliteration, the threats on Guam, and now we saw such a stellar opportunity here for Donald Trump to do something special. What is stopping him?
Well, as I say, it's the military-industrial complex. I think, you have to have a look also. It makes sense for China and for North Korea to be, being sensible and preparing for a possible conflict. The Pentagon for the last 2 years has been renewing its nuclear capabilities. So that is to say, upgrading its nukes and pulling out of the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty this week, which has been presaged 6 months ago. And there was every opportunity not to do that. They've done that. Now, this has been talked about quite a lot as a kind of confrontation with Russia and pulling out of a treaty with the Russians. But of course, it also affects China. And what's happening is they're actually making nuclear war more likely, the United States, by pulling out of this treaty. And that is, quite serious, isn't it? If you think about it for a minute. What we're doing is they're pulling out of a treaty which stops these kinds of tactical weapons, and those are the tactical weapons that will make a nuclear war more likely. The United States has not just pulled out of the INF Treaty, though. It's pulled out of almost every treaty you can imagine. The OECD, the Climate Agreement, it's never even joined the International Criminal Court. Actually, the United States is the world's rogue state. It's on a par with 1930s Germany, who was going around invading Czechoslovakia, Poland, everybody that it felt like. And the United States is doing the same sort of thing. They're also supplying $3 billion a year as a grant to Israel, which is the crusader state, which is attempting to balkanize the entire Middle East. So I think something needs to be done about the Americans, the United States, one way or another. Hopefully it's through domestic politics in the USA, but I wonder if that is possible. Needs to rein them back, because they are pulling out of all these treaties and they're actually making the world a much more dangerous place to live in. At the very least, we should be calling them out, but our Western journalists, I'm afraid, are, it seems, just singing the Americans' tune most of the time. And they, although they focus on Trump as a kind of bogeyman, actually they don't look at the bigger picture, which is the military-industrial complex, which is really calling the shots here in the West.